Hello and welcome. On this week's episode, you would forgive us for thinking it was Easter instead of Christmas. What with the season of resurrections Hollywood is throwing at us to finish out our year. First off, we have the final episode of Marvel's Hawkeye. It has been fantastic to this point, and they end it with a bang by bringing back one of our favorite characters in just an awesome way. Woo! Second up, we're going to be talking Matrix. That's right, Resurrections. It's kind of like the Star Wars Episode 7 of Matrix movies, and maybe that's not the best thing.
Ooh.
We know how you feel. And lastly, we're talking about something everyone can love, Spider-Man No Way Home. I have finally seen it, and we are going to spoil the hell out of it.
Can't wait.
So if you haven't seen Spider-Man yet, you're probably one of 8 or 9 people left on the planet. Pause this episode, pause the intro, go watch Spider-Man, and when you're done, join us on
Tales True and Money.
You started with a guitar intro, and I thought you might go into the old 90s Spider-Man song there for a second. You had like that chunky guitar intro, and then the solo comes in because we're going to be talking so much Spider-Man today.
You know we have tales to admonish, and that is my only wish. Yeah.
What are you, Trey Parker?
Oh, hell yeah, baby. He's a master of the Euroling.
Oh, yeah, no, he does.
A mound.
That's funny. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Just relaxing during this holiday season. My daughter had a really awesome recital this past weekend that I saw her.
Yeah, I know. I saw you posting videos from church, and your daughter's in the choir, right?
Yeah, she's in the choir. She did a really fantastic job. She's been working for months, and yeah, that was fantastic. I got her some really cool scientific stuff. I got her a microscope. I got her a laptop. I gave that to her as an early present because I was like, well, she could use it now. And but also get this. Do you know binoculars have cameras in them now?
I know we're old, but of course binoculars have cameras. Why wouldn't they? That's amazing.
It's so creepy though.
All right, see, I guess I didn't take it to that place at first, but yeah, fucking creepy.
So yeah, so when I gave it to her, I leaned on the idea. Yeah, look at the stars, babe. Like I was just like, that is so horrible.
Well, it depends on what sort of environment you're in. If you're out living in a more rural area, then you're looking at the birds and the squirrels and the wildlife and the fucking shit. But if you just straight up live in the city, then you're just kind of looking in other people's windows.
Yeah.
And now you're recording.
Yeah.
Oh, that's boy, that's a thing.
That's wild. Yeah.
That is wild. So you got your kid a bunch of scientific stuff? I love that.
Yeah, she got some geodes and stuff, and oh my god, she had this thing where you get to actually excavate like gems and rocks from this dusty piece of like material. So she got into that immediately. I'm loving everything that she got right now. It's really cool.
That's cool. I'm glad to hear that your kid's into that stuff. Maybe I'll send you some stuff because I have, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I have an extensive rock collection. I have a lot of rocks on display in my living room. And specifically, I love to collect meteorite fragments.
That's sick.
Because the idea of possessing something like extraterrestrial to me is insane. The idea that something could come from the Oort cloud beyond Pluto, and now it sits on a shelf in my living room. That breaks my brain that you can own a piece of the Oort cloud. Like what the fuck is that? So I love meteorites, but Rachel also collects rocks as well. And so whenever there's like street fairs and stuff like that, we always get out and buy rocks and we arrange them on our little shelves in our living room. So I'm totally into all that stuff. And my undergraduate work was, all science based. I was studying to be a science teacher before, the art life called and entertainment and all that stuff. But so I love that your kid's into science. I hope that, we get her cooking up some radioactive spider blood or
Oh,
something.
please. That must happen. That must happen.
No, you actually just get
What
super
happened for you? What happened for you? What happened for you for
Oh,
holiday?
well, shoot. We spent all of Christmas with Rachel's family, which was nice. My mom is actually moving. So we asked her what she wanted to do for Christmas. And she's like, I already sold my furniture. There's nowhere for anyone to sit. I will see you all in January. Come visit in January. So she lives a bit upstate. So it's a little bit of a hike to get to her place. But Rachel's folks live right here in Westchester with us. So we went and spent the day with her. I spent most of the day in a cape and mask. Her nephew is obsessed with superheroes and specifically Spider-Man. And for Christmas, he had gotten a box full of superhero dress-up stuff. And so Rachel and I and Grady, her nephew, spent most of the day running around with our arms out in capes and masks. So can't beat that with a stick, right? He's such a good kid. And he's got these 12-inch superhero action figures that he loves to play with, but it's all Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Spider-Man. He had no bad guys. So I went online and I found somebody made this awesome 12-inch werewolf. He also loves Halloween. So for Christmas, I got him a giant werewolf action figure for all of his superheroes to team up against. And so when we weren't running around in capes and masks, Spider-Man and Captain America were doing battle with a giant werewolf. He's 3, so it's all good times. Yeah, I love that stuff. So we had just a great holiday. I'm actually talking to you on the brand new microphone that Rachel got me for Christmas. So I must have been pretty good this year.
Shabooey.
Shabooey indeed. Well, speaking of Christmas, we got the final episode of Marvel's quintessential Christmas series, Hawkeye, and it was everything. And we were right. All of the money that they saved on the last 2 episodes, they spent big time on this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is so much punchy,
Wall to wall.
and I love it.
Wall to
Wall action.
It was great.
They spend all the money on this episode. You could see it. We even said it the other. We're like, they got to be saving their money for the final episode. And when you look at episodes 1 through 6, like episode 1, giant action sequence. Episode 3, giant action sequence. Here we are at episode 6, and they do not disappoint. And we, of course, will be spoiling the finale of Hawkeye. So if you haven't watched it, what's wrong with you?
I just have to say, as a retrospective, honestly, this whole year has been a gift from Marvel. Like, just the amount of entertainment that we got. Like, we were not at a loss for entertainment all year.
No, you're right. I mean, 4 movies and 4 series?
Oh, yeah. Video games.
What? No. Oh, my God. Video
games. The TV shows.
Game of the year. TV shows. Biggest movies of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, they just filled it up. It will be a tough act to follow in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen the lineup. It's going to be skimpy like always. It's supposed to be skimpy. We got really lucky.
Basically 2 years worth of stuff in 1 year
lucky.
because nothing came out last year. And really, if the low point of that entire season is Eternals, then you've done something right.
Yeah.
Like Eternals wasn't the greatest movie in the world, but if that's the lowest low you achieve, then you have had a great season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so,
all of it's good.
Going into Hawkeye, it being the last thing being released alongside Spider-Man, and actually, like, kind of showing, like, launching two characters from the Netflix series together. Like, there's such a really good coordination.
They let everybody know at once. Yeah, it was perfect coordination.
Yeah. From WandaVision to Winter Soldier and Falcon, and to Loki, and to now Hawkeye. I mean, look at the differences between all of the things, especially this one being like so holiday based.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of those things couldn't have been more different. And same thing, too, with the movies, with the different movies that we got, is that they were all very dramatically different in their own right and what they were trying to do and what they were trying to bring. So it's crazy that Marvel can try so many different things and do so many of them well. I mean, we just sit here and basically kiss their asses all the time anyway, but God damn it, they deserve it. This shit is good.
Yeah, I mean,
And Hawkeye tied in the Netflix universe now.
Heck yeah.
So for you completists out there who have to see everything tied to everything, now go watch your Netflix stuff because it's in canon. We got Charlie Cox showing up, in Spider-Man later on. And then we also got Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, who was the perfect casting for Kingpin. Of course you go back and get Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, it's Vincent D'Onofrio.
He's amazing. And they shoot him perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
I love that they shoot him so that you never see all of him.
Oh, yeah.
And they do the Peter Jackson Hobbit thing where they always bring him forward in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And when he first sits down with Vera Farminga's, Eleanor Bishop, and you see now we're going to get the entire scene that photograph at the end of episode 5 was from, where Eleanor's basically explaining to Kingpin, like, this shit is getting too wild. I have paid back my husband's debt and I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks absolutely mammoth.
No one ever gets out.
The way they shoot it.
No one ever gets out.
Oh, his voice is so perfect. She thinks she works at Merrill Lynch or something. We're going to show her she doesn't. Like there's some Nixon in it.
So standouts for the show, just Yelena is like, she's like even sicker on this show than she was on Black Widow.
Oh well, yeah.
She just really has gotten to lean into the character. So like just her dialogue scenes and the action, she's just so fantastic. And then her and Kate Bishop, they really need their own show, honestly.
They do. And, and that's the thing, because I always felt there was a disconnect between Kate's behavior towards Yelena and Yelena's motivations. Like, is Yelena just so fucking likable that you can't help but quip with her while she's actively trying to murder your hero? Like, I know that Kate believes in Clint's ability to get out of any situation. So, but they're being like buddy while Yelena is actively hunting down Clint to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but damn, she's so likable. She sells that idea. You never question it. You're like, of course they're bantering as though they were fighting together, despite the fact that they are kicking the crud out of each other.
Remember, she even has that line, "Stop making me like you."
Yeah, exactly. Stop making me like you. Like, you're a murderer and you're about to kill my best friend. And so much fighting. You get Kate fights Yelena. You get Clint fights Yelena.
Mm-hmm.
You get Kate fights freaking Kingpin. Kate's mom hits Kingpin with a car and Kate blows Kingpin up, and you cannot kill the Kingpin. Don't think for a moment you can kill the Kingpin. And so much action. Kate fights everybody.
Yeah, I love when Hawkeye does the leap off the building. He lands on a tree and he meets an owl.
Yes.
Bug nuts, man.
And then that owl definitely murders 2 people later on, which is fantastic. That was the most ridiculous thing, where they're about to be hit by a van, and so they shoot it with the Pym arrow and turn it into like a little Matchbox car. And of course, Kate looks at Clint like, we can unshrink the people inside, right? And Clint's like, I mean, I could talk to somebody. I think so.
So good.
And then the owl from earlier swoops in, takes them away to definitely crack that thing open and eat them.
Now, one issue I did have is every time like Clint has to use his bow as a weapon, like it just does not look like a weapon. There's at one point like he's hitting people and they're like flipping over with the bow.
Well, all right, because I think because it is designed to be flexible, you see it as a weapon that maybe, isn't imparting as much force as it could, because it's going to flex when it hits. But here's the other thing. What if he's hitting him just at the last minute, he turns it sideways a little bit? Now you're catching him with the side of it that doesn't flex.
Tom.
I think you could beat the shit.
On.
My brother, it's funny. I bought my brother one year for Christmas, like a Hawkeye t-shirt, because he's super into archery.
Mm-hmm.
And when you live in upstate New York, that's one of those things. And so if he hit me with his compound bow, that shit would hurt. that would hurt bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe not flip a dude over,
Yeah.
but this is comic books. The idea that a woman who weighs 90 pounds can take down a guy who weighs 300 pounds. Like, I don't care how good your kung fu is, your body doesn't have enough mass to generate the force to hurt that person. Rachel, who studied martial arts for a year, she calls it wei fu in the movies,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, that woman doesn't have enough mass. I don't care how strong he is, how many push-ups you do, you just don't weigh enough to affect a change of direction on her target. And so, you know, you have to just suspend a little bit of disbelief and say, okay, Hawkeye hit him with a bow and he did a backflip. Like, maybe that would certainly render his bow inoperable for the rest of the fight. But come on, it's good fun. I want to watch people
It's
get
just
hit
a
with
tiny
bows.
nitpick, you know.
Well, you wouldn't be you.
It's the same. It's the same thing as like, I remember this bothered me about Age of Ultron because you know, like you got Clint in that circle with all these superheroes fighting robots, and they cut around him so nicely so they'll actually show him destroying a robot because he has no ability to destroy a robot without his arrows. And those robots were swarming around him. I love watching that cut. You got to see that cut sometimes because like, they make it slow motion and they have to give every hero their shot. And it's really ridiculous, you know. But when it comes down to this show, man, it's just butter, man.
It was so good. And the final fight. So to break it all down, basically, Eleanor has set up Jack. Apparently, Jack didn't know he was the head of all of those companies tied to the Tracksuit Mafia. We knew he was a red herring
super
from
red
the
herring.
beginning because he was he was mustache twirling literally in the first episode. So it's not him. That would be too much. But we do learn Jack is super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to the party with a sword after being exonerated for murder. And
Well, that's his namesake.
well, right, because in the comics, he is the swordsman, but we have him literally hacking up Tracksuit Mafia guys on the steps of Rockefeller Center.
Oh, yeah.
And as a New Yorker, that makes me proud. I don't know where they shot this or how they shot this, but it looks like they are leveling Rockefeller Center.
Oh, yeah.
The giant Christmas tree comes down into the ice skating ring, and Tracksuit Mafia guys are getting shot in the shoulder, left and right. But Jack is fighting them with a sword. And it's funny because later on in the episode, he's dabbing a few drops of blood off of his tie. Like, oh, how did that happen? And it's like, dude, you would be covered in head to toe in arterial spray. There would be screams of the dying as blood flowed down the stairs of Rockefeller Center. Like,
Yeah, you definitely love horror movies.
you're cutting limbs off with a giant saber, and you see him take down like 10 dudes. They would be body parts everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But it's Marvel, so he just gets a little blood on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun, man, and the glee of him just taking these guys out. What a great character. I hope we see him again.
Oh, yeah. A character I don't hope to see again is Neo and Trinity.
Ah, yeah. We do have to talk about the Matrix. I know. You and I feel differently about this.
Boo.
I'm not going to say it was, we both agree that it's not a good movie. If you had to score this movie on a scale from 1 to 10, what do you give it?
5.
All right. See, I give it a 6.5.
Yeah. Because although I can't stand a lot of the movie, I still love Neil Patrick Harris. I love a lot of the ideas in the movie.
Oh yeah, Neil Patrick Harris in everything is a joy.
Yeah.
He's beyond reproach. Of course, as we talk shit about this movie, dear listener, please remember none of it is directed towards Neil Patrick Harris. He's a saint among men.
I mean, yeah, Neil was great. I feel like he was a wasted villain for this movie. This movie, like, needed to have a better story and a better protagonist for a villain like that had such a sick plan, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's weird because we had talked about this movie at one point. You said something really poignant about it, and you said it felt like Lana Wachowski, didn't want to make this movie.
Yeah,
is what you said.
no.
It felt like she didn't want to make this movie, which is, I mean, perfectly valid. And you think about the fact that the main character, Neo, is back to being Thomas Anderson, and his company is forcing him to make the Matrix 4, the video game, which he doesn't want to do. So if you had to draw parallels, I mean, it's almost exactly right there. And that really is the theme of this movie. The theme of this movie is every single thing that Lana Wachowski thinks and feels is laid fucking bare. There is no subtlety. She comes at this with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. This thing winks and nods at every moment. It literally tells its own story through the movie.
But what about the fans, bro?
That is not necessarily what the fans wanted,
about the
but I
fans, bro?
do see it.
That's bullcrap.
I
That's
know.
bullcrap. Like
I know.
I love the Matrix. And like the thing what Matrix stood for back then was like cutting edge technology and like really just kind of warping your worldview on what's real and what's not, and all those sort of themes, you know, turned into like a diatribe on how much you hate your job and how Hollywood is now. Like how does that belong into the Matrix, man? You know?
Well, because I think that Lana Wachowski had something to say about the Matrix so many years later, because so many of the themes in the Matrix have been co-opted into different socio-political movements. The idea of the red pill versus the blue pill it's moved beyond the Matrix to just a societal colloquialism, you know? And the idea of hating your job and the roboticism of it all, and the themes that were the Matrix. The Matrix was so pivotal and influential that it shaped the way discussions around those things were had. And I think Lana wanted her moment to have her say on that.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure she doesn't fucking like that so many right-wing and conservative outlets adopted the idea of quote unquote the red pill. And she's like, I made this actually for the opposite.
Then go
of
fucking
your
make a
ideology."
documentary. Jesus Christ.
She did, and she called it The Matrix 4. Because it tells the fucking story of everything from the beginning. It's the same movie as The Matrix again. And I think that's something that a lot of people, they wanted an expansion. They wanted an update. And just like you said earlier, the idea of The Matrix did X, Y, and Z. It revolutionized special effects in the film industry. It revolutionized that style of storytelling. And it did all of those things. And you want the new Matrix movie to do all of that again. But maybe that's impossible. Maybe catching lightning in the bottle and creating a movie that changes the very society that watches it isn't that fucking easy.
There could have been something better than this. You know?
Sure. Okay. There could have been something. A lot of it, first off, the glaring omission, the lack of Lawrence Fishburne is a problem.
That was horrible. His presence.
If you're gonna make a nostalgia bomb, which is what this is, it's a fucking nostalgia bomb. That's what it's designed to be. Then commit. Then bring back Lawrence.
Lawrence Fishburne's presence was like probably more Matrix than Neo was, honestly. His voice and him taking everybody into the world of the Matrix was so integral to the Matrix.
Yeah,
It's so weird that he
brought that tenor
just,
to his voice.
Yeah.
He seduced you to the truth.
He's easily dismissible. Like, give me a break. And like, I don't care about any sort of excuse that they have. Well, we wanted to say, well, he died and blah, blah. Look, give me a break. You spent so much money to bring back the bodies of Keanu and of Neo and Trinity. You know, like you could write anything to make these all these characters come back, or just do a straight up sequel to those original movies. You know? No.
See, you know what I think would be funny is that it would have been real easy to just make Lawrence Fishburne the Silver Surfer in this one, because Lawrence Fishburne was the voice of, right? Because now they have technology that lets software become physical in the physical world via tiny little silver balls that they can control. So it's a way for sentient software to have physical form, right? The way you write it is just like this. Lawrence Fishburne, the actor, and forgive me for forgetting his name, who plays
Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Thank you. Who plays the software Lawrence Fishburne. You could have made software Lawrence Fishburne. So every time we're in the Matrix, we get Lawrence Fishburne looking Lawrence Fishburne. And then when we're in the quote unquote real world where he is officially dead, software guy can just be a silver blob walking around, but he gets that fucking voice. So there you go. I rewrote it there. That's what they should have done. That would have made Arthur happy. Lana, if you're listening, call me. You don't talk anymore. I have good ideas, real ideas to help your movie. We can still say all the stuff you want to say. We could still wink and nod, and it's like all of the detractors. We can do that. Just call me.
I feel John Groff was wasted in this movie too.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, I mean, because they didn't really do.
He only even came in because Hugo Weaving. They didn't know what to do with him, and originally they wanted Hugo Weaving, but then they couldn't get him, so they had to figure something out. And him was figuring something out, and it was kind of a waste.
See, but here's the interesting thing: they actually called Hugo. And Hugo wanted to do it.
Right, he just had a scheduling conflict.
And again, going back to Lawrence, they never called him at all. Annoying. Now, Henwick was really good. I feel like she just should have had her own movie, honestly.
Yeah, she should have just been the new Neo.
Yeah, honestly.
You make the movie where she's the one.
Yeah, because I mean,
she was great.
Face.
She's great.
Yeah, she's really cool.
Yep, and you really believe her awe and her motivations. She's just great.
Yeah, I mean, the movie looked like a straight to DVD release, honestly.
Little bit.
A lot of the action was just like they had shutter speed on some of the slow motion. That's like such a super cheap effect. Like you're going backwards versus what the quality of the Matrix from 20 years ago.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this movie was trying to do a lot, and I think you're right too. If it is in fact that, Lana Wachowski didn't have her whole heart in this, and she is a reflection of the main character who doesn't want to make part 4 of the Matrix video game. So for those who may not have seen the movie, essentially, let's just do a quick rundown. If you haven't seen it, we're spoiling it. We're spoiling it, be that as it may. It's 60 years in the future. The machines have a new operator who is Neil Patrick Harris. He has designed the next Matrix. And he has learned that for whatever reason, he needs for Neo and Trinity to exist in the Matrix to stabilize it and to keep it working properly. But they can't join up or they become more powerful than the system that they are working within.
Because reasons.
And I'm sure that there's some kind of commentary there, because by the end of the movie, essentially, Neo is not the one. Trinity is the one, if there is the one.
No, they're both the ones.
It's that they are.
They are both
they're
the
a
ones.
pair. They are both the one. And Neo says, I never really believed in the one stuff because there's the two. So you have to have both. And maybe there's some kind of social commentary in that.
It makes no sense.
But we
not based off of the story. The architect.
Well, no, not based off the story.
The architect made Neo to be the way he is. He never changed it so some other random human was made to have Neo powers. That's it. So they just.
I know it's a little contradictory. It is.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool to see Trinity with powers, but maybe write something that makes it make more sense.
It's a different Matrix. Everything's allowed.
I guess everybody should be able to fly then.
Well, maybe. Anyway, so we move forward. We don't know, man. We move forward. We find out that Neo's been basically brainwashed back into being Thomas Anderson. And because he's going to retain residual memories of all the shit that happened to him in the first 3 movies, they make him a video game designer who has made the Matrix 1, 2, and 3, the video games that are exact playthroughs of the movies that we watched in the 90s and early 2000s. So now the Matrix itself exists within the Matrix universe, and they spend a lot of time talking about what they think about those first 3 quote unquote games. And it's just the movie talking about itself, which is weird.
Yep.
It's weird to have the characters in the movie have opinions on the characters they play in the movies.
Yep.
It's meta. It is breaking the fourth wall without actually staring directly into the camera. And there's a lot of that going around. Let's just say there's a lot of that going around. A lot of media. We're going to talk about Spider-Man later on. Does this now, but does it better, admittedly. And so this movie just like you said, all the things that you wanted the new Matrix movie to be, they have a scene where when they're talking about the game, The Matrix 4, they say everything you just said. We should be breaking ground. And they talk about all the things you would need to do to make a successful one of these. And then the movie actually does none of it, which is ironic and weird.
Mm-hmm. You're telling it.
So it's not great.
You're telling it.
But it's a nostalgia bomb. If you want to watch Keanu Reeves, who is charming as fuck, go and Thomas Anderson / Neo it up. He's going to do some of that. If you want to watch, Trinity and Neo's love story come full circle back from her dying in a spaceship and him becoming space Jesus. I mean, you really can't have a space, a cyber Jesus story without resurrection. And here we are. And maybe it's not incredibly satisfying, but this is the movie that exists. And I'm glad because it seems like you've calmed down a little from the last time we spoke. You were so heated when we first talked after you saw this movie. You were like personally offended. You were like, why?
Yeah, dude,
why for this?
I remember the most expensive thing I bought besides like video games 20 years ago was my Neo jacket.
Oh God! You had a Neo jacket,
of course.
You fucking nerd.
So I got skin in the game, bro. I got skin in the game.
Oh,
Matrix meant everything to me.
Man, did you have the tiny glasses?
No, I had my regular glasses.
I bet you still have your tiny glasses.
No.
My glasses were like, I used to go with like a smaller wireframe glasses because I grew up in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But now I go with the Wayfarers. I'm looking good these days. I don't do the little glasses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the thing. Dude, you weren't alone.
I know.
Like, I worked in IT in the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000. After The Matrix came out, a third of the fucking screensavers in our office were those little green letters going up and down. There were black fucking full-length coats everywhere to be seen. Somebody had them on. Full-length coats and tiny glasses for miles. So like I never got into it. I saw the first one and then I saw like the Matrix crew. And look, I got a lot of friends who were running with the Matrix crew. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but it felt a little forced, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was weird. And it wasn't my scene. I was weird too, but that wasn't my scene. And so I never got into the second movies. My roommate fucking loved that shit. Loved Animatrix and fucking everything about it. He was totally into it.
Oh, yeah.
The industrial music scene, but wasn't my cup of tea. But it sounds like you had a little bit more emotionally invested in it.
Oh,
so, rather than, taking this movie as Lana Wachowski screaming into the void, you would have rather just had a continuation of the story that went somewhere that seemed to make sense.
I mean, dude, it was at the time there hadn't been a Superman movie in a long time, and the best the effects were for anything was Batman and Robin, so like to actually make Neo fly like realistically was a big thing. When they weren't making like high budgeted superhero films, Yeah. So by the time that they were showing the trailers for Matrix Reloaded and like he was just flying all over the place, like that's where that's when they knew they could actually make another Superman movie. So seeing something like that was just blew you just like out of your mind. Completely out of your mind to see all of that stuff back then. That's why Matrix had such a huge effect on me. You know, Spider-Man and the Matrix. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Well, this
I'm glad.
movie
I'm
wasn't
glad,
revolutionizing.
I'm glad one of them struck it big this holiday
Well,
season.
yeah. Well, shoot. I mean, I like that. I like that. We could talk about Spider-Man because Spider-Man does well what the Matrix did poorly, which is to look the audience square in the eye and talk about some previous movies and maybe, wink and nod to them where appropriate and maybe have some commentary on it where appropriate. And in Spider-Man, it's fucking delightful.
Oh, yeah.
It's delightful. Where in the Matrix, it pulls you out of the movie because you know that it's Lana Wachowski saying like, "I don't freaking like this," and
Yep.
but in Spider-Man, it gives you all the warm and fuzzies. And if you forgot that we said it in the intro, I'm gonna give you one last chance. Spoilers, because this whole movie is spoilers, and I know that killed it. Like, for a lot of people, and you especially, Arthur, you felt, that, man, what it would have been to have seen this movie cold.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine seeing this movie
Oh,
cold without knowing anything at all? It would have broken your mind.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is easily the most spoiled movie in my lifetime. Like, we just everyone knew everything about it. The actors kept spoiling it. Like, the journalists would spoil it. Like, we knew stuff behind the scenes because of like messy contractual agreements between Tobey Maguire, which like just completely ruined all that stuff for us. It still didn't take away from the movie. It still wound up being super special. But oh my God, I just imagine if we had no idea, we would have lost it.
And I tell you, the best guy in all of it was Andrew Garfield.
Oh yeah.
For everything that I knew or didn't know, it wasn't until a few weeks before the movie came out that I was certain Andrew Garfield was in it, because he's a good actor. He very convincingly was like, no, I'm not in the movie. It wasn't even like Tobey Maguire's like, I really can't talk about it. I really can't say. We're not talking about it. Please don't ask that question. And then Andrew Garfield's like, no, I'm not in that movie. That's a great movie. I would have loved to have been in that movie. But they didn't call me, and I think that's, I wish they had called me because I love it. And he was the most convincing one of all of them. Alfred Molina was just like, I am Doc Ock. They find me in the river in the East Bay, and I've got the sun in the palm of my hand, and then suddenly they transport me to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and I have to fight Peter Parker.
Everything.
And like Kevin Feige's tearing his freaking hair out at home. Jesus Christ, Alfred, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, then Jamie Foxx did the same thing.
Same thing. I told him I'd come back, but if they make me blue, I'm never doing this role again. So yeah, I'm back, but I ain't blue. What are you doing? Just giving it all away.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the actor who played the lizard.
Yeah, Reese Ifan.
Yep, and even Willem Dafoe was very coy about the whole thing. And it was great. Those guys were cool.
Well, Willem is a consummate professional.
And he is a consummate professional and a hell of an actor.
And he's something of a scientist, too.
Yes, he's something of a scientist, too. Yo, this movie, and we should have expected it, because the post-credits scene at the end of Far From Home was them doing a cartoon version of the Spider-Man meme.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, every little memeable phrase from the first movies is in this movie. They have them saying the lines. Like, the theater I was in was so divided between people cheering at the top of their lungs and other people screaming after, cheer, but shut up. We want to hear what they say. And so, like, you would hear this loud roar, and then as soon as the character on screen would open their mouth, like, it would just stop. And so everyone could hear the dialogue. But, like, every memeable moment that these characters said, there was cheering. I'm something of a scientist to myself. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Like, all of that stuff. So good. So freaking good.
Oh, yeah.
And it's it's a 2.5 hour movie that doesn't feel like a 2.5 hour movie. You know me, I bitch and I moan. We were talking earlier and I was telling you how excited I was. I was like, I watched Carnage. It was 90 minutes. Can you believe it? It was the second shortest superhero movie ever made. It was 90 minutes. And you're just like, yes. No, I'm like, no. All right. I'm so tired of the long ass movies, but this movie, you could have made this movie 3.5 hours for what they gave you in this movie. And for a 2.5 hour movie, so tight.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, that's the whole thing about it. This is like a master class. If Chloe Zhao wants really know how to make these movies, she needs to watch this movie. You know, because it's about timing. It's about the beats. It's about mixing up the comedy. It's about having the action beats there. It's about having the emotional beats, having the tone, the pacing. Like all of that is there. Like that when you should feel like it went by really fast if it was a 3-hour movie because you're having so much fun. You're having so much fun. Like that's what always makes time go by so fast. You know?
That's it. It's not a 2.5 hour movie I have a problem with. It's a 2.5 hour movie that feels like a 2.5 hour.
Oh, yeah.
You keep me engaged. And this movie hits every beat just as you start to lag a little bit. And then it's like, bang, we've changed it. And you're in it. You're in it for every moment. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, that was 2.5 hours.
So
nice.
I want to talk about the actors right quick because
please do.
You know, Zendaya, and Peter, like now that they've clinched the relationship, then they get so much more screen time together. Because before, like I love the way they played MJ in the last two movies, because I mean they really played everybody as actual high schoolers, not like 30-year-olds
playing high schoolers. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, that made it super refreshing. And, like, they gave MJ all these, like, really awkward, quirky, dark, like, personality traits that are always great. So, with all of that we saw before, like, just seeing her interplay with Peter just felt really special. It felt like a connection that I really haven't seen in all the other ones. I did like Andrew Garfield and Gwen. But again, like they seemed way older.
Yeah, they
than,
definitely
like the high school
played
age.
older. And
Yeah.
What is it? It's the curse, or rather, I guess I don't know if you call it a curse, but basically every Spider-Man ever has dated his leading lady in real life, and now Tom Holland and Zendaya are no different. And they have legitimate chemistry when they are on screen together. You just see the amount of chemistry that they have with each other, the amount of genuine friendship, and him and Ned too. Like, just you can tell that these people in real life are genuinely friends, or in the case of Tom Holland and Zendaya, genuinely together.
Yeah. So we have Ned doing great, and then we open with Aunt May and I almost said Foggy. Happy. He did play Foggy at one point.
Yep.
But Happy having like the end of their little tryst. She's always great, man. Marissa Tomei's she's always been a fox and always been great in everything. I loved her in Slums of Beverly Hills. You ever seen that movie?
Oh, I love Slums of Beverly Hills. That's such a great movie.
Love that movie. Anyway, it was funny what was happening with all of the Aunt Mays throughout all the movies. She's just getting younger and younger
and younger. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but she definitely, she was one of the greatest Mays. I still like Aunt May from the Tobey Maguire movies because I just love her scene with Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
Finish it.
Oh,
and then just like how she always happened to be in peril. And I mean, and she looks the most like the comic book.
Well, that's what
Aunt
it
May.
is. She was the most comic book Aunt May. When you think of Aunt May from the comics or from like Spider-Man and his amazing friends, like that's your quintessential Aunt May.
Yeah, it never made sense that she was so old.
Yeah, I mean that's a little weird. Spider-Man, Peter is supposed to be 16 and she's like 75. Maybe she's just an old. No, she was just genuinely old. I don't know, man. It was
she should have been that old, like because like Peter's mom had to been in her 30s. Like, why do you have a sister that's 40 years older than you?
I don't know. Maybe they were one of those like religious fundamentalist families that end up with like 16 kids and 20 years age difference. Who knows? But Aunt May was always old. Marissa Tomei redefining the Aunt May role in so many ways in this movie.
Oh yeah, like just when she we have that really funny scene where it seems like MJ and Peter are having sex in the room. And she's like, hey, like practice safe.
Yeah.
Like she's modern aunt and stuff, you know. But then going to the other actors, like we're so lucky to have a cast like of this measure, you know. We're bringing back all of the different villains, like I mean, and we're even so surprised that we actually get Thomas Hayden Church back, and Reese Ifans as a lizard, you know. It's just such a balance of the cast. Everyone's so great, and just huge stars all being balanced so well.
And it worked well too because the movie is so tight. It doesn't change locations a lot. It doesn't interact with a lot of ancillary characters who don't move the plot forward. A thing happens, that thing must be dealt with, and they do. And I think that really helps balance the sheer number of stars and main characters by having the story be really tight and really focused on just them and nothing else. No B plots. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, we get to see more JK than ever in this movie, like in a new version of himself, like a new sort of variant, I guess.
Well, it makes perfect sense for the time we live in. Yeah,
the JK of this universe. So it was fantastic because you see how he just kind of made it big off of his Spider-Man story.
That's it. He hates Spider-Man, but Spider-Man moves, papers in the old version, and in this one gets clicks. And I think it was really smart to update that character for the modern generation, because to have a newspaper man in today's era doesn't make any sense. Nobody cares about newspapers.
Yeah, he's like a total Alex Jones type.
Yeah, and then they show him like his show looks big and has gorgeous production value and graphics, and then they cut to behind the scenes, and it's him with a webcam in a basement with like file boxes everywhere, and the illusion.
But then you see he comes up though. You see that he comes up though eventually. Like
yes.
He winds up making a lot of money and getting a lot of like reach. With that story. That story gave him a lot of reach. And like he kept talking about it. You heard him subtly say, "Yeah, everyone knows my story."
Yeah.
He has a couple of lines like that.
No, J.K. Simmons so good in that role.
So, Doctor Strange and Peter's relationship, so great. So what they stress in all of these movies, besides Peter's naivete, is his connection to his male mentors.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really cool to see how he interplays with Doctor Strange throughout this whole thing, and their fight is so great.
Yeah.
And then the way he used math, Archimedean circle or whatever it is.
Yeah, he uses geometry to understand how Doctor Strange is manipulating the mirror realm when he sucks him into the mirror world. He's like, all of these effects that I'm seeing, they're geometry. So if I understand the geometry, I know where he'll be. I'll know where the real one is. And he
so sick.
Gets the better of him. And then what I thought was like completely fucked up and impulsive is he takes his sling ring and then bails. And it's like, you don't know, like, what if you abandoned him in some random multiverse and now you don't know which one, you can't get him back, and he doesn't have a fucking sling ring, so how is he getting back? It's just everyone in this movie is so impulsive. It's like, Peter has a problem.
Oh, he's a teenager.
Yeah, well, that makes sense for him, but Doctor Strange should really just stop and talk things out a little bit more. I know that he's incredibly sure of himself, but he moves a little fast on this one. That was the only thing about this whole movie that got me, that it was like, if they took a half an extra beat before Doctor Strange just starts doing a spell, then all of this gets avoided, but then we don't have an awesome and fun movie. So
yeah, but I mean, to me, it makes sense. Like, Spider-Man asked a simple request. I need everybody to forgive me. Okay. Like he didn't have any caveats or anything. He just based it off of what the kid said.
But the
You know,
reach of that, the actual, like the amount of reality that you are going to alter in doing that just maybe begs half a moment more to discuss it. Because what happens?
That's always been Doctor Strange's flaw. He's just like Tony Stark, but just in the magic realm.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true. And that's going to lead big into, Doctor Strange 2, where Baron Mordo is back and he's like, the problem is you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is impulsive and he is impetuous at times. But so he begins the spell. Spider-Man screws it up and they break reality and they bring all of these bad guys into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And unbeknownst to them, a couple of Spider-Mans too.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great plot device. So well thought out and so lovely. And juxtaposing to what happened in Matrix. Oh my God, if Matrix could have did anything similar to this, it would have been fantastic. So we have our villains. Like what's really great is that they all acclimate very well to the Marvel comedic tone.
Yeah, they do.
So it's so funny that everything that they say is just hilarious. There's no way that's his girlfriend.
Wait a minute. Your name is Otto Octavius? Yes.
Who the hell are these guys?
Hello,
it's just
Norman.
A tree, man. It's just a tree, man. Just a tree.
just a regular old tree, man. It's not like a tree dude.
Yeah.
So good. And all of them retain their basic, wants and desires and motivations from their original movies. And it works. The one thing that I've seen a lot of people complain about this movie, and maybe that this movie, the writing gets a little bit wrong, is the idea that you can cure them of what makes them supervillains, and that will somehow save their life seems a little bit weird, because we know that Doc Ock gets pulled out of the river just as he's doing his experiment that goes wrong. And he has to drown that thing in order for it to not explode, and that takes his life. So whether you fix the neural inhibitor chip in his arm controls, he's going to die when he goes home, almost, unless he shows up somewhere else.
I don't know. I just think that, it's not going to be as clear as shut. And then like this, whoever Spider-Man they're dealing with at the time will know that they're not that powerful. So they would relent.
Well, sure. Like Electro's going to live because his powers kill him. So if he goes back without powers, his powers don't kill him. And the Lizard lived anyway, so he's fine. Sandman lived anyway, so he's pretty good. And but Goblin might find himself on the wrong end of a glider. There was something interesting that actually Rachel pointed out that I thought was what solves this problem, is that you don't go back to where you were when you get taken. You show up like where you are. So, for example, all of these characters that they're fighting, they were all in New York. They were in different places in New York, but they're all in New York. Now, we see in the post-credits scene to Venom that Venom himself gets sucked to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then the Spider-Man movie confirms this with the post-credit scene where he gets sent back to his universe. The problem is he was in Mexico at the time. So he spends the entire Spider-Man movie in Mexico. He doesn't get transported to New York. He doesn't get transported to San Francisco, where he presumably spends most of his time. You go from one universe to the other, but you basically stay where you were. So since when these characters go back to their universes, they aren't in the exact same spot they were standing in previously, they probably do survive. But Rachel thought that was funny. Yeah. She was like, oh my God, he spent the whole movie in Mexico, because that's where he was.
Yeah. So then we're gifted to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, and it couldn't have been handled any better.
No, it couldn't.
It was just such a magical moment. especially when you're an audience when you're in an audience with just people that love the stuff that you do, because this movie's no small feat, and it'll probably never, the likes of it will probably never happen again. Like a lot of the payoffs in this movies are 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's fantastic. You know,
You
like
can't hit those emotional notes without that amount of time to feel that nostalgic. And I was actually really surprised that they put Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showing up so close together. I would have thought Tobey would have been like 15, 20 minutes later, to gut punch you again. But there's something so powerful about, like, Andrew Garfield shows up and they punch you in the gut. And you're like, oh my God. And you haven't even recovered from that yet. And then Tobey Maguire steps out of the portal and you're like, no.
I'm
It's
sure
like,
I'm sure they had different plans. It's just Toby's contractual agreement like took way longer to put together.
it just works so well both ways. I just mean in pacing in the movie that they're going to hit you with those nostalgia bombs. I thought they were going to give us Andrew Garfield early, and then now we're going to hit you in the fields with Tobey Maguire later, but they give it to you 1, 2, and it works that way as well.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Just like you said with Andrew definitely was an MVP for me. See, like here's my thing about the Spider-Man. Toby was a pretty good Peter Parker, a little bit too much on the sad side, but still a great Peter Parker. Probably the best Peter Parker.
A little old, but the best.
Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man to me.
Yep.
Like not the best Peter Parker.
No.
I think this has been talked about widely in the fandom.
Sure.
But like because like Toby was horrible as Spider-Man. His voice, I mean, he was great at the intensity and the acting and the drama, but Spider-Man's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, like, he literally had this one line. He said, "Quiet while mommy and daddy are speaking." That's what he said to J. Jonah Jameson in one of the scenes. I think it was Spider-Man 2. Oh my God, it was bad. But like,
the Spider-Man,
yeah, but Andrew Garfield was great as Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man 1 wasn't that great. It had my favorite Stan Lee cameo. I thought that was like, it was so cool when he's in the library. All these things that are about to almost hit Stan.
And he saves him. He's wearing the headphones the whole time.
Oh yeah. It was great. That's my favorite Stan Lee cameo. But yeah, everything that he was saying, the way he looked and felt, that opening scene of Spider-Man 2, him flying like flying down to the city.
Yeah.
And that's my Spider-Man. Like that's the look of the Spider-Man from the 90s. Drawn by Jim Ballant. What's his name? Yeah, well, I have to look him up in a second, but
no doubt.
Like it was what was it? Not astounding. Spectacular Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man from the 90s and stuff. He also drew not Extreme Spider-Man, but Ultimate Spider-Man.
My quintessential Spider-Man artist, of course, is Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane, I think, redefined it. And
Torment, bro.
And Todd McFarlane jokes that every other artist who ever drew Spider-Man after him hates him because nobody ever thought to draw the curly webs where you have like the one web down the middle and then you draw the other complementary threads of the web is curling around it. And it's a lot more elaborate, but it looks amazing. Everybody else just drew straight lines. And so he jokes that to this day, you can't ever just draw straight lines again since he drew it the way he drew it. Now every Spider-Man artist hates him.
I like Mike Wieringo's web. His web was really cool. But
yes, Andrew Garfield was the quintessential quippy. He was such a good Spider-Man. But it's funny too because he's always, whenever anybody lists out their favorite Spider-Mans, because you have Tom Holland, who is the perfect blend of both. He is a great Peter Parker and he's a great Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, what's so good about what they did is, like, first of all, they have so many clever things about memes and things that actually happened in the characters' real lives. Like the whole back thing was like, Toby had back problems, like while doing
right. He had back injuries. Yeah. And then
and then Andrew Garfield being so like self-loathing.
Yeah. Where they're giving out
Peter Parker is self-loathing.
Yeah, well, he is. And when they're naming Spider-Mans, he's like, all right, I'll be Spider-Man 1, Toby, you're Spider-Man 2. And they point to Andrew Garfield. It's like, yeah, Spider-Man
Spider
3. Yeah, I got you. All right. You know what? Everybody's third favorite. Let's do it.
3.
And the commentary, like, and the way that they fix the complaints, where like one of my hugest complaints about the original Spider-Man trilogy was you went out and got Willem Dafoe and then put a mask on that mug. Don't you dare. And as soon as we get introduced to him, he freaking punches his masks and shatters it. And it's like, it's a way the filmmaker's looking directly at the audience in that scene and going, we heard ya. We heard you.
Yeah.
Because so many people said the same thing. You went and got Willem Dafoe and put a mask on him? No. And every every complaint that people levied in the original ones, they address. Like Andrew Garfield's a great one, where they're talking to him about what his life's been like, and he looks at Tobey Maguire and goes, I was never very good at being Peter Parker anyway, so I decided to just be Spider-Man. That's him looking directly at the camera and going, I know y'all think I'm the worst Peter and the best Spider-Man, so I'll just be Spider-Man. Like, that's what and not to beat a dead horse, but that's a lot of what the Matrix was trying to do, but just was so heavy-handed about. At least this one, it's so deft and it's so light in the way that they do it. Just like, it's the perfect touch for that kind of objective if you're trying to tell those kinds of jokes. And they do it so well. And you get all of the Spider-Men together, sort of comparing and contrasting their differences. A great comedic scene.
Oh yeah, when they shoot the shit.
Yeah, when they're just like doing science together. And Tom Holland's handing out web cartridges and he gives some to Andrew Garfield, and he goes to hand them to Peter Parker or Tobey Maguire, and Tobey Maguire's like, what's a web cartridge? And they're like, what do you mean, what's a web cartridge? He's like, where do your webs come from? I'm like, oh my God, they come out of your body? And later on in the big fight, when they have no time for it, Andrew Garfield looks over at Tobey Maguire. He's like, so then presumably you have some organ in your body that's making web fluid right now? And Tobey Maguire's like, that's not important. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh my God. All the things that you didn't expect that you would
ever get. That you would get these guys talking to each other about the differences that were written for them in the movies. Again, not to beat the Matrix up, but this is how you do it right. This is how you wink and nod at the audience without pulling them out of the movie.
Yeah, like it was just a beautiful moment. Because Spider-Man has meant a lot to me. I mean, like, it's not a wonder why this movie made so much money, man. Like, Spider-Man probably is the #1 superhero besides Batman.
Superman's got a claim to that as well, but those are the big three: Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man.
I don't think Superman anymore. I don't think Superman anymore. I don't think. I think Spider-Man has
I think the
edge
word
over
anymore
Superman,
is
like,
important
handily.
there, but Superman, Spider-Man, and Batman are sort of the trilogy.
Definitely Superman for a good amount of time. But not in the last 20 years, bro.
Fair. But Batman and Spider-Man certainly are the superheroes.
Definitely Batman, Spider-Man. But Spider-Man, I feel, has the edge out because of young kids. You know, because like, I mean, he's a kid. He has like pajamas for a costume. You know, he's bright red and blue. And he's so relatable.
And anyone can put the costume on. It could be anyone. Yeah. It could be you under that mask. That's why the character works.
So relatable, you know. That harkens to the line that Jamie Foxx had, you know, thinking that Spider-Man might have been black.
That's such a great scene when Andrew Garfield finally takes him down. He takes the mask off. And he's like, "Oh man," and Garfield's like, "What? What's up? I just kind of thought you were black. I mean, because you're from Queens and you like to help the community and stuff." And Andrew Garfield looks and goes, "I'm sorry, man." Like, apologizes for not being black. And then again, you get the look right into the camera, you know, right into the audience's soul, and goes, "Man, you know, with all these different universes, there's got to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere." And then, of course, the audience is like, "Yes, there is, and we want to see him." They couldn't give us everything. You can't,
man,
you know, Miles
joy.
Morales swings it at that moment. It's too much. Give us. We're waiting.
I was wishing.
I know.
You know, before
God,
I saw the
know.
movie, I was wishing Miles Morales was in this.
Everybody hates Chris. Tosses that uniform on and swings in. Next time, baby. Next time.
Oh man. Oh yeah, man. It's such a great time. Such a great time. And and so like there's so much to talk about. Like the moment where I couldn't take it anymore, just tears streaming from my eyes. When MJ goes over, and it's like every love interest has that moment when they're flying through the air, because that's the easiest, like most
Of
visual
course.
arresting thing to do, is to get that damsel saved. Peter goes for his babe, and then you hear the slow cackle of Green Goblin as he pushes them away.
Mhm.
And then Andrew, and again, 8 years story that has a payoff, 8 years in the making. Watching Gwen Stacy die and having the guilt that he had about that, not letting it happen again, and the look on his face when he actually is able to save her. It just is enough to make you tear up right now. The look on his face that he was actually able to save her.
That he had gone over
Oh,
that
my God.
moment in his head so many times, and he changes his approach. He doesn't just web her and stop her. He swings in and breaks her momentum with his, so that she doesn't just, come to a stop, which is what ultimately kills Gwen Stacy. And he does it right, and he wins. And Spider-Man, quintessentially gets so few wins, and to see Andrew Garfield play that scene out, he came out of this, everybody is clamoring for him to just be the Sonyverse Spider-Man. Just let him go fight Venom and Morbius, and let dark, angry, jaded Peter Parker / Spider-Man, who's done being Peter Parker, just hunt these guys down and get into it with them. I was saying to Rachel, what would be the best fucking movie? Like, you want a reason for Venom and Spider-Man to hate each other? Venom and Spider-Man team up, because like he said in this movie, he stopped pulling his punches. And people who know the comic books, Spider-Man could punch Doc Ock in half if he punched him as hard as he could. If he punched Doc Ock, who's just a baseline human attached to metal legs, if Spider-Man, who can lift 40 tons, hits him as hard as he can, he would explode like a water balloon. So part of what we know about Spider-Man is that he is always holding back. And you have that scene where Andrew Garfield looks at Tobey Maguire and goes, "I stopped holding back," which is a very subtle way of saying, I kill them now. I started killing bad guys because I got tired of it. They killed the woman I love, and now I killed them. And you could see a Spider-Man who's okay with killing bad guys teaming up with Venom, and then ultimately growing a conscience, so to speak, and deciding, you know what, I'm actually not with this. You have to stop too. And then they come into conflict. Like, we were in this together. We were like brothers taking out the trash. And now you're going to stop us? Fuck you. And that's where the conflict could come from. That's where Venom and Eddie Brock could hate Spider-Man. Oh, there's so many movies you can make up in your head. That would be amazing. No pun intended. That's the amazing joke. You're amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh, thanks, man. I really need to hear that. I love all the self-loathing. It's so funny. There's that one moment where he's with Jamie Foxx, and he's like, "Yeah, you ain't the shit no more," and he puts his head down. He's like, "Oh."
When they're all talking, when Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland are talking about aliens, he's like, "Yeah, well, one time I fought this alien. He was kind of made of black goo. It was weird." He's like, "Oh, I fought an alien in space one time." And then there's Andrew Garfield sitting there, goes, he was like a Russian guy, and he made this suit, made him look like a rhino. He wasn't in it. I never went to space. I haven't been to space. And he's just like, "I suck. You guys have fought aliens. You've been to outer fucking space. Like, look at you, Spider-Man." And I'm just like, I fought this Russian guy. He made a suit, made him look like a rhino. It was, never mind.
So, Aunt May dies, and oh man, like that was rough, because it was such a switcheroo moment, because like the way they played it seemed like she was fine, and it was kind of realistic, because like when someone's in shock like
you
that,
wouldn't know you're bleeding out. Yep.
Oh yeah, like, so that crap was crazy. and so impactful.
And then she says the line.
Oh yeah. And yeah, which leads to when he actually goes and has his like really brutal fight with him.
Oh yeah, Green Goblin.
In contrast to the original, which is in contrast to the original one, because of course, you know, we know Peter pulls his punches.
Mhm.
He's punching him, and the Green Goblin's like laughing.
He's
while
trying
punching
to
him.
kill him, and he can't. Really hammers home how strong the Green Goblin is.
But then you see complete difference when he fights him at the end.
Mhm.
He is meaning to kill, and he has the ability to kill.
Mhm.
You know, and then what do we see? We see Toby come in for his big moment.
Yeah.
That look on his face that communicated everything without any words.
In the same way that Andrew Garfield got to fix the death in his life that haunted him, the death that haunted Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker is the death of Green Goblin, which him dodging the glider and watching him get impaled. Now we have Tobey Spider-Man saying, no, not on my watch. This is not happening again.
Yeah, I mean, just eyes just streaming, like during that moment, and then eyes streaming again when Peter has to say bye
To Aunt May.
The movie's so beautiful. Like the moment that they hug, he's doing a tracking shot going around them as the sun is behind them when they get to reunite again for the last time, and then that score comes up from Michael Giacchino. Oh my God, the movie.
And again, the
man.
movie listened to the fans and got it right. The fans are like, yo, we don't need Uncle Ben. We don't need another Uncle Ben. We've gotten Uncle Ben so many times. The first Spider-Man trilogy gave us Uncle Ben's death twice, son. And like, we always get Uncle Ben's death, and we don't need that. We've seen that. We're tired of that. And then this movie's like, we heard you, son. Now go cry. Go cry in the corner.
Well, but that's
and
the
it's
thing,
like,
though.
oh my God,
That's the
you're
thing,
so
though.
right. Oh my God.
But that's the thing, though. And this was what's smart about Marvel.
So
because
smart.
everyone was dreading when the first Spider-Man came out that they were going to make it an origin story.
Right.
But that has not been Marvel's thing. You know, they do a lot of cold openings. They switch up the perfect example is with Captain Marvel. How it wasn't just played as a straight up origin.
Right.
It started with her having powers and stuff, and it would go back and forth, you know. So yeah, we did have Uncle Ben. They just were subtle about it because we'd seen probably the best Uncle Ben's part in the Tobey Maguire one.
Yeah.
That guy was the perfect.
Oh, he was
Uncle
so
Ben.
good.
So
Peter?
yeah, so we've seen
He's
it
like
and
dying and shit.
oh yeah, and I mean we've seen that. So Marvel does a smart thing, and they just allude to Ben Parker.
Yep.
Because I mean he had Peter has his suitcase at that time
Exactly.
and he talks to him, but he's talking to Tony. He doesn't know Tony that well, so he's not like telling him all of the stuff. Then of course with Aunt May, he would say, well, you know, Uncle Ben would do it like this or whatever. So, you know, we did have the shadow of Ben Parker there, you know.
Right, but we didn't
so-
need the with great power comes great responsibility scene from him again. And what we did, but then they did give us Spider-Man's origin story. It just took 3 movies to tell it. Like now at the end of the movie where they have to concoct a spell that makes the whole world forget Spider-Man to undo or forget Peter Parker. They know Spider-Man, but to forget Peter Parker. And that fixes, again, one of the hugest criticisms. They're going, oh, well, we want Spider-Man. You gave us Iron Spider and, you know, Tony Stark Jr. And we want the broke Queen's kid out there doing the good work. And that's exactly where this movie leaves us. It leaves us, and it with like the most Ditko fucking Spider-Man costume you've ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. That was killer for me to see the high blue, because they always go like the modern Superman route. You look at Christopher Reeve's Superman, that suit is blue. And every other suit that ever came after it is like the darkest navy you ever saw. And I love
muted.
Yeah, the blue, and Spider-Man's
Oh, yeah.
costume at the end of this movie is beautiful.
It was beautiful, and it's lining up perfect with Hawkeye because it's like
Yep.
Christmas time.
Yep. Yeah, it ends
And
in Christmas.
You see that the Rogers musical is playing at the same time.
Of course. Nice little tie-in.
I can do this all day.
My sister laughed her ass off at that as the Easter egg at the end of the Hawkeye series. Stick
Oh,
around
yeah.
at the end
That
of
was a gift.
Hawkeye. There is a post-credit. It is hysterical.
It's a gift.
And
Peter Parker, Spider-Man making his own costume.
making his own costume.
Not being able to rely on Stark tech anymore. You know,
The only thing
no-
thing I wanted that I didn't get was at the end, because like fucking Easter egg at the end, the apartment that he moves into once everyone's forgotten who Spider-Man is, he's starting his new life alone, or Peter Parker rather. It's almost the exact same apartment from the original Spider-Man movie that Tobey Maguire moves into. I just wanted Mr. Ditkovich to be like, you pay the rent.
Yeah, me too.
Rent on time. Like, where's he? Come on. I guess that would have been just a bridge too far.
Oh my God, man!
But
that would have been great.
I mean, if you love those first movies, and because they hit us at exactly the right time in our life. Spider-Man 1 to this day is still, even after everything else that's happened, adjusted for inflation, the most profitable superhero movie ever made. Like, for dollars spent to dollars made, you can't underestimate how big that movie was. In 2001, everyone got that DVD for Christmas. Everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Box sets, special edition widescreens. Like, I just remember Christmas of 2001, everybody got that movie in their stocking. Everyone. I can't imagine how many they sold. And so that was such a quintessential part of what we know to be this experience with these characters. In 2001, we had the X-Men movie, and then suddenly this, and it was a revelation. And of course, all these movies are flawed and they have their problems, but it hits a part of your inner child. And I think that Marvel they've done it again. They've done it again.
Oh man, what an experience, man.
I can't wait for the Blu-ray, I guess is all I can say about that. Come on,
Yeah.
put that goddamn Blu-ray out. Like, come on.
What an experience. What a book into 20 years of movies.
I want a pause button. I want to pick
then-
it apart. I want to know it. It's amazing. What an amazing way to end it all.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
the beginning.
Well, yeah, that's basically what it is. But it is an end to basically tying up stuff basically loose ends, because that's what's happened with all the Marvel properties. There's a bunch of loose ends because these properties are tied to other companies.
And this
so I mean, they're about to do the same thing with X-Men.
It took all those loose ends and it made them into a nice, neat little bow.
Yeah, they're about to do the same thing with X-Men. It's going to be way more epic, though. Holy shit.
Oh, man, we'll see.
I can't wait to see how they pull that off.
I know. I can't wait either. I mean, the only shame is that Hugh Jackman ain't going to play ball. I think we're done with Hugh Jackman.
No, he's totally going to play ball. They already had meetings.
I know they had meetings, but I don't know. I dare not dream that dream. It's been a beautiful end to Spider-Man. We don't need to dream that we would ever get Hugh Jackman back into the universe. I'd rather be surprised than to put myself down for that level of disappointment. But you're absolutely right. This is how you tie up 20 years worth of web slinging and create something that just ends perfectly. And I think we have ended perfectly on that note.
Well, no. Quick thoughts.
Oh, no.
No, quick thoughts about the Doctor Strange trailer at the end.
All right, because okay, so I don't feel so bad. I ended it, but now you got to stick around for the post credits. Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, fresh off of the synergy of WandaVision and Spider-Man and Loki.
They're all there. We're going to get
Yeah.
so much multiversal stuff. We're getting America Chavez, who is a freaking Latina, alternate dimension, LGBT plus Captain America that can punch holes through time and space. Fuck yeah. Give me Captain America that can do that. We're going to get Wanda back, which means that we're probably going to see Agatha Harkness maybe drop by. We're hoping. And
Shuma Gorath.
Yes. Give me more tentacles coming out of freaking portals and giant eyeballs. And we're getting evil Doctor Strange.
I think we're going to get a bunch of different Stranges. I think we're going to get the Council of Stranges. Because in the trailer, you see the Defenders version of Strange.
Oh, I suppose that's true. Yeah.
The one.
Yeah. The costume.
With the one with the ponytail.
After getting so many Spider-Men, now they're going to give us the Council of Stranges. Next thing you know, we'll have the Council of Reeds. We'll get the Parliament of Doom, and of course, the Cross-Time Council of Kangs are on their way. So prepare to see our favorite actors playing lots of different roles.
And now you can end it.
I don't do what you say. I do what I want. But if people want to talk to you, where are they going to find you, Arthur?
I'm Arthur Romeo. You can find me at arthurromeo.live. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Draw Really Awesome Wow, where I do art tutorials and make a bunch of funny voices because I'm a voiceover artist, working voiceover artist. And where can they find you, Tommy?
Well, they can find me typically on Instagram at thomas.olton. That's where you can see some of my artwork and some of the things that I make. And you can also find us on Instagram at tales_2_admonish, where when I freaking get around to it, we have posts that give little spoilers and fun little tidbits about our episode. And I'm hoping in the new year to expand some of our social media activities. So do keep an eye on that. And if you would, please do go online and give us a rate and review. It really helps with the viewability of our podcast and helps people find us. So if you've enjoyed what you heard today, tell your friends and join us next time on
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Deedly.
Oh, nice. Wild Stallions.
Very good, sir. Good times.